So this episode, I have Denise back with me with Muscle Tuners, and we're going to do a little episode on power on the brain. We can't wait to hear this one, Denise. What's this one about?
Well, Brad, I tell you, this is so simple. People can't get over how simple it is. And it's just like when you know the trick to something, it's simple, right? So this one literally will open up the pathways between your right and left brain, the top and bottom of your brain, and the front and back of your brain. So how many of us are actually using our whole brains these days? I bet you most of you, if you honestly go, yeah, I don't think I do.
Well, I think science has proven that we only use like 5% of everything. So how do you unlock all 5%?
Yeah, well, at least the 5% or more. So what ends up happening is when you're stressed, you have deadlines, you're stuck in traffic, you've got your kids are driving you nuts, your spouse is making demands, or you just are going, I need to save enough money to get away from a holiday and get away from all this, right? So you do sometimes experience stress. And what they know happens is the frontal lobes where you process and do all your reasoning, they can shut down. You go to your dinosaur brain. And also people who are not really socially connected.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's the part of your brain that says that you're allowed to speak and act this way in public. And then there's your inside voice. Some people have a problem with that one.
Absolutely.
Right. And definitely helping the creative side and the logical side. They say Einstein had really great pathways across the right and left brain. So he would visualize something and say, what if I was on the pin of a head of like a molecule of light? And then he came up with the, E equals MC squared, because his logical brain could work out something he was visualizing. Wow. So imagine how important it is for people of all ages to access more potential. So there's a lot of people out there and they're really linear and they're really logical and really analytical and they're no fun, right? They don't know how to be creative. And how many people are all like, hey, I just like float through the world. And
that's more like me.
So it's really great to have access to those resources and those tracks of thinking. But imagine when you can put them together. So awesome. This technique really, really helps with that. And if you have learning challenges of any kind, if it's hard to focus on something, if it's hard to concentrate, you want to do this technique. And it literally takes a minute. So I'm just going to talk to you about why you want to do it. So I got invited to my kids' school because I knew I did this unconventional stuff. And in elementary school, and we did this power on the brain routine with some of them. Every day, you're dropping the kids off, walking them into class, and the teacher says, okay, everybody, Mrs. Cambiotti is going to do something new. And do a little bit of something different every day, but every day I did this technique where there's these special acupressure points that we were activating. And a couple weeks down the road, my sister-in-law says, hey, let's take the kids out for a skate. So we go ice skating up here in Canada. Mm-hmm. And I lace up my skates and we're going around and I'm skating along and I'm talking to her and we get to the end of the rink and I'm crossing over and skating along and I'm gliding along and I'm not thinking a whit about skating. And I haven't had skates on my feet for about a dozen or more years, for sure. More than like 20 years probably. And I get home and I went to my husband and says, thanks a lot for sharpening my skates, honey, because it was a really great skate. He says, I haven't sharpened your skates for like 20 years. I don't know what you're talking about. It was a completely different skate. And since I started teaching this stuff, I started to understand when you activate these points, you're increasing your physical coordination incredibly. We have seen people in sports like football players, hand-eye coordination also improves. So you want to know what it is? Yes, say yes,
Absolutely.
everybody.
Tell us.
Yeah, tell us. So imagine you're typing on a computer. It's a waste of time to type on the keyboard if you don't turn on the power to the computer, correct?
Yep, absolutely.
So you're just typing, nothing's happening. So you have to turn on the power to your own biocomputer, and you do that by putting a hand on your navel, just like that, okay? You just put a hand flat, your palm along your navel. And that literally, get the umbilical cord, all that, the Chinese theory, like this is where like in energy and information first came into you, was through the umbilical cord. So put a hand there. It literally is like, okay, biocomputer's turned on. Now you're going to type on the keyboard. By doing that, you're going to find your collarbones, the inner edges of your collarbones. You're going to drop down until you get to that gushy area between your ribs.
Yeah.
Right?
Right to the top of the pec.
So what's going to happen here is usually if you put 2 fingers here in one hand and the thumb there, look what happens. You just find that and it drops in like so.
Does it matter which hand you're using for which side of the brain or?
Not at all.
Okay.
Because we're going to rinse and repeat with the other side in a minute.
Gotcha.
So follow along with me, Brad. Put a hand on your navel. Good. You got the right spot.
Okay.
Yeah. One hand on the navel, other hand goes rubby-dubby. And you don't be too worried, but it's basically this whole general area here. And after about 15 seconds, you can switch to the other hand. So
now, does it matter if you're going clockwise, counterclockwise, or is it supposed to be just a little massage?
It's a little massage. It's a stimulation. And if it hurts, back off.
Okay.
It's not supposed to hurt.
And I'm switching now.
Yeah, you're switching. And so the Chinese believe in yin and yang, right? You ever heard of those expressions?
Yep, absolutely.
That relates to polarities, positive and negative polarities. And so they know in science that one hand gives off more positive and more negative. So you're doing that. Great.
Okay.
Now what you're going to do is with your hand still on your navel, the other hand, you're going to get some fingers rubbing the spot under your nose, above your upper lip.
Okay.
And there's also a spot you can do at the same time right here below your lower lip, just, that dip above your chin. So you can reach like that. I know it looks weird. I'm a trained professional and I'm unembarrassed to do this because I know how powerful it is.
Yeah. Listeners got to check this out on YouTube when I put it up on YouTube.
Yeah, you might not want to do this in your business meeting, but you might want to do it in your office or the restroom before you go into your meeting. And so,
now for this one, you switch to?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Now,
so the hand on the navel never moves; it just sits there.
That's correct.
Okay.
And you never go rubby-dubby on the tummy.
Okay.
Okay, so that's good enough. Okay. So the first points being on the right and left side of your body, they were encouraging your right and left brain to communicate.
Okay.
These ones here, going the up and down ones, they're helping messages go up and down in your brain. So now, how do you get the messages going forward and back?
Okay.
So this is the one my mother would just roll over in her grave knowing, you're showing people what you're doing on TV. It's just like, yes, Mom, it's important. Disconnect my headphones for a second. So
all right. You got to stand up for this one.
Yeah. Well, you don't have to stand up, but I will so you can see. Hand on the navel.
Hand on the navel.
Other hand is just above your tailbone.
Okay. Between the glutes. Okay. And it's a rubbing motion as well?
Yep. So sitting down, easy peasy. You see you reaching there, right? Are you doing it? Come on, Brad, play along.
I just can't stand up.
You don't have to stand up.
Yep, cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so breathe. And then switch hands.
Switch hands, same spot.
Yep. So it's literally at the bottom of your sacrum. People that's the triangular bone at the base of your spine. Your spine comes down. Here we go. Oops. Model here. Here's this bony sacrum part.
Yep.
The triangular part. There's the tailbone. Don't rub on the tip of the tailbone. You don't want to try and break it.
Just above it.
So it's just basically there. Let me come right there.
There we go. Okay.
So once you rub that while you're holding your navel, you are literally helping the messages go right and left. Front and back. Let's just plug it in.
Once again, this trick is for any aspect of life, not just fitness or sports. This could be at someone's work meeting before they go into an important presentation or something.
This is such an important thing for anybody at any age. We teach this to kids that are like 6 years old. We teach this to parents. We teach this to anybody who needs more focus, more concentration, more access to all the resources.
Yeah. So in the kid situation, if every parent did this with their kids before they went into class, You have a
Yeah.
happy teacher that's got a more focused group of kids.
Absolutely,
Wow.
absolutely. There's a modality called brain gym, and they teach this kind of stuff in a lot of schools nowadays. But the other thing is really cool. Is I have an instructor who said, these things, they seem so simple. We learn it in the first level class. Everybody learns it. And he says, I once was at a course and a roommate came down, so we're all bunking in this. It was an interesting like rooming house kind of situation where they were at the school. Somebody came down and said, it's really weird. I woke up and my arm is asleep. But the thing is I know when I woke up, I always sleep on this one side, but it feels like my other arm is asleep. She says, this is the oddest thing because I know I was sleeping on this side, but it's this arm that's asleep. So he says, put your hand on your navel and do this. And in about 10 seconds, the woman just squealed, whoa! She says, that's so weird. She says, it jumped.
Wow.
So literally the neurological signals were switched. And so sometimes we call this switching on the brain and switching on the neurological circuits. And somebody we trained did this as a demo with a group of people. And I cannot say this is reproducible in any way, shape, or form, but I love the success stories our people come to us with. She says, I'm doing this demo. And she says, there is a lady who squeals in the audience. She's like, what's going on with you? And she goes, my peripheral vision is back. I had a stroke 7 years ago and I could only see this far. And when she was doing this one, her peripheral vision opened up.
Wow. Well, that's the thing. I keep talking about proof is in the pudding. Like a lot of your clients are probably referring more and more and more just from all the testimonials, from all these stories. That's great.
Well, what ends up happening is these people have an experience and they go, I don't know how to explain it. Just go see that.
Yeah.
Go see that person. They do this thing. I don't know. They turn on your muscles. They turn on your brain. I don't know. They do something. I don't know what they're doing. And something's happening. So
wow.
that's what we love is when people have an experience and then go tell all their friends about it. And they go, look, you just have to experience it. And if it's for you, it's for you. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, so what? You've had an interesting experience at least.
So is that something like you mentioned even before the pandemic, this is something totally coachable on like Zoom or online, however you wish. What about like a group online thing? Can you still do that?
Oh. Yeah, we would love, we actually have trained facilitators who have a group setting, wow. either live or virtual, and they'll lead them through a bunch of energy tuning activities. Mostly that side of the business, we call it energy tuning.
Yeah.
So this one is an energy tuning technique, but it bridges both sides because of the physical nature of it as well. So we've had our program online and people learn online. They come to group coaching. They ask their questions. They go, what am I going to do with Mrs. McGillicuddy who's showing up next week? And I'm worried about what I should do. This is, what she's presenting. So we give them tips and suggestions and just say, just do our system because it works. Just do the system. You're going to get home run results. But then the other thing is now what we're finding is muscle tuning used to be offered face-to-face in person.
Yeah.
Turns out you can do it virtually beautifully. And now working muscle tuning in groups, that gets a little tricky because everybody's unique. Everybody needs a customized solution.
Yeah, but for the basics, like the stuff we did today, energy tuning, you could do that in the group setting. And then after that, then start doing more one-on-one sessions because everyone's got their own issues.
Right. Well, once a month, I give away these 5 techniques that you're going to break out over your series of programs. But it gives people a chance to attend live and ask questions or say, I'm not getting a response. What should I do? Am I doing it right? So because we're on Zoom, we can say, oh, yeah, you're like way off the point. The points are here, right? So, we do that monthly with a group. It's called our Release, Recharge, Realign program. And it's a free webinar. I'm trying to keep it under an hour, but literally there's just so much juicy stuff. It usually goes to about 75 minutes. 5 wonderful techniques you want to have in your back pocket anytime you want more focus and concentration, less tension. You want to feel aligned. You want to feel recharged. So 5 techniques that we offer all the time to groups.
Awesome. Well, that's great. I think that kind of wraps up for Power on the Brain. And we'll check you guys out in the next episode. Thank you so much, Denise, for jumping on with us again.
You're very welcome.
For our listeners, how do we find you? Website, social media? What's the best way to contact you?
My email address is Denise, that's Denise, at Muscle Tuners. That's muscle spelt just how you expect it, MUSCLE, and then tuners, TUNERS.fit, which is a new and different extension. That's the first 3 letters of fitness. And our website, obviously, is muscletuners.fit. Loads of information there. Freebies can be found. We give regular monthly for professionals or any individual. We run monthly webinars. And access to all the content of the types of courses we do and testimonials. And we just love to help. So reach out if you have a challenge. I'm really, really happy to give you some kind of tip that's specific for you.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you for jumping on our show. And for all our listeners, I'll be putting all those links in the podcast details too as well. So thank you, Denise, for jumping on. And she'll be with me for the next 5 episodes for this season. And hope to see you next time.
Excellent. We invite everybody to be strong, be confident, and be tuned.